I wanted to talk about another stock that I've been really interested in, and I can't find anybody talking about it on YouTube, and it's actually really hard to find anybody talking about it anywhere unless you're going right to the source. Now, I have been very interested in this stock for almost a year. The thing is, though, it wasn't really a stock a year ago. It was an idea. I started following this guy on X. Actually, he just popped up into my feed from the algorithm. I was like, who is this guy? I've never heard of this guy before. But he would write really long, detailed, really thoughtful tweets about his opinions on things that would happen in the world. And so I looked into who he was. Turns out he was a billionaire. He got wealthy in the stock market, Harvard alum, that kind of thing. He had mentioned at one point, almost a year ago, that he wanted to create a holding company and to build his own version of Berkshire Hathaway. Most people didn't really didn't care about that. It didn't get a lot of attention or anything. And it caught my ear because I was like, okay, is this guy serious? He seemed like an authentic guy. And, whether he's as successful as Warren Buffett, who knows? I don't know. I look into him. He's got his own company. He's been running for 20 years or so. And he has actually come very close to the annual return of what Warren Buffett's performance would have been. I just watched this guy for like a while. And then I want to say, I don't know if it was like January or something. It was sometime. It was in the more winter time, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. He announced that he wanted to do an IPO. I think it was an IPO. I don't remember. I don't remember the actual structure, but he was trying to do it one way. And he set up this presentation, and there were a couple people in the financial, world that were honestly kind of slandering him. And even somebody that I respect, but I kind of understand where they come from. But they were just saying that this guy is just a scam artist. And I was like, I don't know about that. He's got really good returns, really good 20-year track record. He's been really open and honest about his failures, how he changed them. He's got the records to show that he changed his ideas and plans, and he's been very successful since. I watched the presentation because I was like, well, I need to hear this guy talk. Okay. I watched the presentation, and I just get a different vibe from him. I've been burned by Wall Street guys in the past, and total sleazeballs, a dime a dozen, the sleazeballs. But just instantaneously, this guy is different. You can just tell. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. He seems to me, he's honest. He's got integrity. He's very smart, very analytical, looks at things in ways other people don't. And he seemed to have a solid proposition, but it didn't get the traction it needed. And so when it didn't get the traction and attention it needed, he said, I'm not going to do this anymore. But he didn't just say that. He said, we're not going to do this. There's a better way. And I took note of that. But he got slammed by a lot of people who said, oh, he's a scam artist. He's just trying to pump and dump. He failed at what he was trying to do. And I was like, no, I followed this guy for a while now. I think that when he said there's a better way, I think he meant it. And lo and behold, 3 or 4 months later, he announced that he was trying to buy a controlling stake in a company that was already existing, a company that he's already had a relationship for almost 20 years or so, I would say. And I was like, see, I knew I was right about that. I knew that he wasn't just going to leave and pretend it didn't happen. He came up with a better plan. And so if you haven't figured out who I'm talking about right now, the guy that I'm talking about is Bill Ackman. And he was able to use funds from his current company, Pershing Square, to get a controlling stake in Howard Hughes Holding Corporation. Just that name alone, by the way, is a really good name. Like, most people, if you say, hey, you know about Howard Hughes? They don't actually know why they know that name, but they know the name. And it's because it was a famous person. There's a movie that came out a long time ago, with Leonardo DiCaprio, I think. But anyways, it's a very identifiable name, and people know it. So just that alone, with that like marketing aspect, like marketing matters. And so that branding is good. So branding's good. Then I look into this company and I was like, okay, I've never heard of Howard Hughes. I know Howard Hughes. I've never heard of Howard Hughes Holdings. So I look into it and I see, oh my goodness, this company owns this master plan community that I have been eyeing for 10 years down in Texas, the Woodlands. They made this awesome place. And then I see they have multiple master plan communities. That's their whole deal. They have acres and acres and acres and acres and acres and acres and acres. They have millions of dollars worth of property. So they have hard assets, plenty of them, and they have consistent cash flow through real estate. If you don't remember, I am a real estate girl. This is my specialty. I love real estate. I understand real estate. Real estate isn't exactly exciting in the stock market. So the stock wasn't actually like overperforming or anything. It was actually a pretty decent price. So when Bill Ackman came along and decided to do this, I'm like, well, shoot, let's do this. His plan is to take control of Howard Hughes Holdings and then to buy an insurance company that will allow even more cash flow to buying in more investments and to just grow and grow and grow. And then beyond the investment company, they might buy other companies down the line. So really, really, really modeling themselves after Warren Buffett, who really paved the way on this. So it's a proven strategy. I was super excited when he announced he was in negotiations. The negotiations kept I don't want to call it falling through, but they wouldn't meet the deadline. And so they would, okay, but we're re-announcing. There's a new deadline that we need to reach. We're extending this. I think they did that 3 times, but by the second time, when they announced that they were moving, I was very confident. From watching the initial presentation in the original deal, I just could tell that I think he took questions. I think maybe that's what I'm remembering, because I remember thinking he has such patience for people who just don't understand anything. And my goodness, I would not have that level of patience. So I already have this profile of this man who has a very good, very, very, very successful investor, seemingly very honest and has very much has integrity, who has a very solid plan for what he wants to do, and he has an abundance of patience for people that honestly are brand new to all this and don't know what they're talking about. I was very excited and felt like this is going to happen because I saw the patience he had with the strangers who didn't know anything. He's got to have patience with these people he's negotiating with, and he's had a business relationship for a very long time. So it really felt to me that they were really, really were trying to hash out a deal, and there was probably something that they were disagreeing on, and they needed to really find a compromise. And so I think it took two or three extensions, and then they finally got the deal done. And they did. They got the controlling stake. By that point in time, I had already bought a bunch of shares in it because I was convinced that he was going to get this deal to go through. I was convinced. The stock was already below its value by a lot at that time. I wish I bought more at that time than I had, actually. I ended up buying in more later. He announced that it went through, and I was like, shoot, I guess we're all in. And so that was in May, around May. I just haven't really heard anything except for that they announced that they were going to have the annual shareholder meeting on September 30th, which was yesterday. I watched that. And they didn't actually share a whole lot of information that I didn't already know. However, I will say during the presentation, they did talk about Howard Hughes' current assets in the Howard Hughes, because now Howard Hughes Holdings isn't just holding the real estate now. They now have it in its own little company. The real estate business with the master plan communities is going to be in under Howard Hughes Holding Corp. It's going to be in Howard Hughes Communities. It's going to be that business. And so they talked about what they had going on in Howard Hughes Communities. And I knew about a lot of the communities that have already been developed. They're more upscale, nicer communities. But what I knew that they were still building a new one, or that they were going to be building a new one. I didn't remember where. And they did a little presentation reminding me of where it was going to be. It's going to be in Arizona. And that they've technically started working on phase 1. But they haven't really done like sales yet. But that will be coming very soon. So I was very excited about that. I'm over here like, let's go buy a house in Arizona. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we've actually even before this considered for a while. There was a bunch of other stuff that they talked about that I kind of already had a broad idea of, but they really got into the nitty-gritty, especially in the presentation slides. It wasn't until actually the very end. It almost seemed planned. Somebody asked about the timeline for when they were going to be purchasing the insurance company. And it was the very last question. A 3-hour long meeting. Very last question. Obviously, he didn't have an exact answer, so he said the earliest it could be within 3 months. That's if everything was perfect. But more realistically, we might be looking at 3 to 6 months, which is still on the sooner side for me. Like, I was thinking, well, this could take like a year or so. I'd really like to get business going. Tentative estimate, 3 to 6 months. Obviously, anything could change. It could happen sooner. It could happen later. We just have to see how it goes. But as it stands right now, I am extremely bullish on the stock, and I have been since they announced it. Even currently right now, without the insurance company, the stock was still undervalued. And I know that it's good. It's good because they've got the real estate and they're going to have the insurance company, which, by the way, insurance, in my opinion, is going to be a really good investment for the future in the next 10 to 20 years when the whole world's going to be different. People are going to lose their jobs with AI and automation. I think really far into the future when robots are just doing everything and like, how do you make money? People are still going to need insurance. Like, that's a given. That's not going away. Maybe it's automated through computers, and so maybe you don't have like reps that you call, but the actual company that sells the insurance is still going to be making money. So I would say that insurance is a good investment. Real estate is not going anywhere. People are going to need real estate. People are going to need to live. One of my favorite quotes from a movie is actually from Superman with Gene Hackman, who always, I don't remember it word for word, but he always says his father always told him, land. Lex was right about that, just to be clear. No, I am not a supervillain, but I do love that movie. That's the quick, brief rundown about Howard Hughes, what I think about it, why I am kind of obsessed with it right now. Please know that I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is just telling you about what I did, why I did it, why I'm excited because I love real estate in general, where I think things are going. I think that if you're interested in it, you should probably make sure you do your own due diligence, really learn about, well, if you're not familiar with the stock market, learn about the stock market, learn about this stock, learn about this company, go to their website, look at their financials, the whole shebang. All right, well, that's all I got for you guys today. Thanks so much for listening to me, and I will see you guys next time.